Hello everyone watching this video. I hope you are well wherever you are. Welcome back to our channel. And today I'm going to share with you about the approach to the paper 2 questions, IGCSE Business Studies, syllabus code 0450. In my previous video, I shared with you about how to approach the paper 1 questions. And my focus was on, and it is still on, the knowledge, analysis, application, as well as the evaluation parts. Those areas, they're still relevant when responding to this paper. Paper 2 has 4 questions, and each question has 2 parts, part A and part B. Let us explore and see how best you can respond to these 2 parts in a way that will make you get an A star. Part A, to begin with, it has 8 marks. And for you to get 8 marks, what are you supposed to do? Some of the questions, they require you to respond using the first approach, 1, and some, they require you to use the second approach, 2. So in the case that the question says, for example, explain 4 ways that you can use to motivate employees. This is simply a general question, and you are supposed to provide 4 facts, and then you analyze them. So each fact and analysis, you are going to be awarded 2 marks times 4 facts that you have selected, then you are going to get 8 marks with the analysis. And in some cases, the question might come as, explain 2 ways in which DNG may use to motivate their employees. The moment a question includes the name of the owner or the business name in it, you are supposed to provide application as well. So in such a case, you are supposed to provide or to write a clear fact, and then you go on to apply it to the scenario at hand for each and every question. So if you write the fact and application, then you're going to get 2 marks times 4 facts that you have applied to the scenario, then you will get 8 marks in total. And in some cases, a question might come calling you to explain maybe 2 ways of motivating employees, relating them to the scenario, or you're supposed to apply them as well to a particular business. So in such a case, you're going to get a mark for the fact, a mark for 2 marks for analyzing that fact, and 1 mark for applying your answer to the scenario. So your analysis should be clear, and your fact should be developed in a way that will make you get 2 marks for analysis. So remember, for you to analyze well, you need to use words such as this leads to, this results in. Those leading points, actually, they're the ones which allow you to develop a particular fact well. So by doing that, you will get 8 marks for the 2 facts that you have explained and applied to the scenario. Then let's talk about part B. Part B carries 12 marks. And how are you supposed to get these 12 marks? You are supposed to use either of these 2 approaches that I've shared on the screen. The first approach relates to where you are given 3 options or 3 areas to discuss. And the second approach is where you are given 2 options or 2 areas you are supposed to discuss. So in a case of you being given 3 options or 3 areas to discuss, how are you supposed to respond to such a question? Remember, there are 12 marks. That means by each option you are going to discuss, there are 3 marks to be awarded. And the other 3 marks, they are meant for justification or the recommendation or the conclusion you are going to give thereafter. So before you give a justification or any recommendation, you are supposed to discuss each and every option. And how can you do that? Since there are 3 marks, the first mark will be awarded for the advantage and another one for the disadvantage. So you can first identify which option you're in support of. Then you provide a benefit as well as a drawback for that particular option. And the other mark, you get it for applying. So application is a must when it comes to such a question, part B. And the last option here that you are not in support of, you must provide as well one drawback or disadvantage and one advantage plus one application, then you get 3 marks. And remember, for you to put across clear points, you are supposed to write them first with your fact, and then you go on to analyze them. Then you go on to provide an application. So fact and analysis, these two, they amount to 1 mark, plus your application in either your drawback or your benefit. Then you get 3 marks. Then lastly, you are supposed to give a well-justified recommendation as to which option you are in support of and why you are rejecting the other 2 options. So you are supposed to provide one advantage for that option you are in support of and one drawback for the other option you are not in support of, and another one as well, since there are 3 options. So those 2 options, you must give drawbacks to justify why you are rejecting them. And remember, all the points you put across, there should always be a clear fact and analysis. And then you may use the second approach where you are supposed to provide a good discussion of each option as well. So if you are in support of the first option, you can provide 2 advantages and 1 disadvantage plus an application. By doing this, you will get 4 marks. And remember, your points should be clear. And then you go on to provide 2 drawbacks and 1 advantage of that other option that you are not in support of, plus 1 application. Then you get 4 marks. And then you are supposed to go on to give a good recommendation or a justification or a conclusion explaining why you are in support of this first option. And of course, in such a case, you may provide 2 advantages for that particular option and 1 application. And also you can go on as well to provide 1 drawback for that other option you are against. So this provides a good justification as to why you are rejecting the second option. So if you provide such a good justification, you are going to get full marks. And remember, all your points should be clear. And do not repeat the points you have explained up here. Then you go on, take them as they are, and you explain them again down here. Those points will be marked as repetition, and you will not get marks for that. So try by all means to be creative and think about new points altogether for you to get good marks. Let's go on and talk about an example to see how best you can apply these approaches to a question. All right, so we have a question right here. This question, I took it from the February-March 2023 paper, question 2 and 3. Let's talk about them and see how best you can apply, analyze, and also justify your answer. So 2A, so first thing, remember, you are supposed to read the inset and underline the areas that you may use as application as you are responding to these questions. So the first question here, 2A, it says, explain 2 possible problems for RW of using or of the business growing. So the moment a business grows, it means we're now having more employees, we're now having more branches, or we may now be having more capital available. So number one problem that you may experience is control. Control may be more difficult in such a case. So you must put across a clear fact showing how it is a problem to the business. Then you go on now to analyze the point. Some employees may not feel part of the business as they rarely see any of the senior managers and hence may not work effectively. So if that happens now, that leads to an increase in unit costs. So that is a good analysis because you have developed analysis in a way that will make you get 2 marks. And higher prices of the paint. By saying that, it shows that you are relating your answer to the scenario, and then you get a mark for application. Then problem number 2, it can be poor morale or commitment. So you can begin by saying, as there are 200 employees, that's your application, may not feel valued by management in much larger organization, analysis. And then what happens afterwards? Leading to lower motivation and lower productivity. So the moment you say that, it shows that you have developed your answer well, and you can be awarded 2 marks for that good analysis. Let's go on to talk about the second part, part B. There is part B. It says, using Appendix 2 and other information, consider the 3 possible locations for RW's new factory. Which location should RW choose? Justify your answer. So remember, there are 3 locations that we have here. Location A, location B, location C. So you are given some factors to do with each location. But however, you do not take those factors given in the inset and you go on to write them as they are here. You are supposed to expand those points to show how they are of benefit or how they are disadvantaging that particular business. So let's go on to the answers and see how best you can expand your points in order for you to get full marks. So remember, there are 12 marks for part B. And in such a case, you are supposed to be awarded 3 marks for each section. Location A, 3 marks. Location B, 3 marks. Location C, 3 marks. And lastly, the recommendation also, you'll be awarded 3 marks. So location A, it has easier access to customers and understand their preferences. Yes, that's a good point, but show us how that benefits the business. This leads to a quicker response to changes in tastes and fashions, and leading to an increase in sales. So they may be able now to respond quickly to any change in the customer's tastes and customers' fashions. So if they can do that, it's a benefit to them because their sales are going to increase thereafter. So this is a clear analysis. Then you are supposed as well to go on and give the other side, the negative side. So however, high wage rates are likely to be paid in the local area to skilled workers, increasing total wage costs. So that's a drawback there. So remember, your answers should carry a positive and a negative point for you to show a clear discussion or a good discussion for each and every option. Location B. It's near to the port, so the cost of transporting the raw materials that have been important, they're lower. That's a benefit, yes. And then what? So 75% of raw materials are imported. That's also your APP there, which leads to them having easy access from ships in the port. Your analysis. All right, an application should be very much clear. And however, there are no skilled workers in the local area, meaning to say what? To the business. And this increased the training costs of new employees. So you are forced to train employees because there are none who are skilled in that particular area. That will go on to increase your costs as the business. Location C, the government is available to grant or to give grants to the businesses employing workers in such an area. That's okay. So what impact does that have to the business? And this possibly reduce the overall costs and also increase the profits for that particular business. This is a good analysis. You put across your fact and you show how that will affect the business. However, imported raw materials still have to be transported to this location. All right, and then what? And this increased the transport costs. So you see, the moment now you put across a fact, go on as well to show how it will affect the business. And then you are supposed to give a good recommendation where you are supposed to show the location you are in support of and the two locations that you are rejecting and showing why you are rejecting them as well. So if you are in support of location A, go on to put a positive point for that location and negative points for the location B and location C. So you may go on to say it should be chosen as it is near the existing factory and it can have close links with the head office, improving communication and paint production. Employees can be moved to this factory to reduce training costs by using on-the-job training. So if you go on to explain your point like that, you will be awarded 1 point, probably 2 points as well with the APP. Then you get your 2 marks for writing the positive point to support location A. But however, or whereas, those words should be used whenever you are done talking about, done writing about the positive, you're now moving to the negative side. Whereas location B does not have skilled workers available, making recruitment difficult. So this is a drawback to the business. They will incur a lot of costs and they may not find people who are good enough to produce in their business. And location C, it has frequent power cuts. And then what? And this may disrupt production and reduce the output. So that's another drawback for location C that you may give in order for you to clearly give a good recommendation and showing why you are rejecting the other two locations. Let's go on to the second question that we have. Question 3A. Explain 4 legal controls that may benefit employees. So remember, in this question, you are supposed to provide a fact and analysis because it's a general question. You are not supposed to apply your answer to the scenario. So legal controls that we have, number 1, it should pay at least the legal minimum wage. You'll be given a mark for that. Clear fact. Then you go on now to show how, or maybe you go on now to explain what it's all about, which prevents strong employers exploiting workers by paying wages that do not meet their basic needs. So that's a way as well you can use to explain that control. Legal control 2 will be provided with an employment contract. So remember, when you're employed, you are supposed to sign a contract that shows an agreement between you and the company or the business that you'll be working for, so that employees will know what they will be paid for the hours you are supposed to work. That's your explanation of this control. And legal control 3, employees are protected against unfair dismissal. So that's a clear fact. It's a legal control which allows employees to have security of employment. So if an employer dismisses you unfairly, you can go on to sue them afterwards and you'll be compensated. So that's legal control number 3. Number 4, health and safety laws protects against injury at work. That's a clear fact. There's an act for that, H&S Act. So employees don't get hurt. And even if you get hurt whilst you're performing the employer's duties, the employer is supposed to pay for all the costs. So this act is there as well to protect the employees. So you are supposed to state first the legal controls or simply the facts, then you go on to analyze them without applying your answer to the scenario because they are simply, or it is simply a general question. Then lastly, let's talk about Part B. Part B says, consider the advantages and disadvantages of 2 methods of training other than induction training, which RW could use for the employees in the factory, in the new factory. Justify your answer. So remember, in such a case, you are supposed to give one advantage, or in this case, there are 2 methods. So that means for each part, there are 4 marks to be awarded. 4 marks for method 1, 4 marks for method 2, and 4 marks for the recommendation. So how best can you get these 4 marks? You put across, or you first choose the method you're in support of, or you first identify those 2 methods. And in this case, it's on the job and off the job training. Then you decide which one you are in support of and which one you are not in support of. So if you choose on the job training, make sure you start by expressing the positive point to support on the job training, and then negative point for that particular method, and also application should be there. Then you get 4 marks. And if you're not in support of the job training, you put across a negative point, and then the positive point, as well as application. Then you get 4 marks. And then you're supposed to give a good recommendation there. Of course, you start with the method you're in support of. You put across as well the positive and then the negatives for the job training plus your application. Then you get 4 marks. So on the job training, remember, it is done within the workplace. That's when you train employees within the workplace. So in this case, you may go on to give the benefit as follows. Individual tuition is given. And this means the training is going to be tailored to the specific needs of the tasks on the floor production line. So there is your positive point as well as your application. The moment you say floor production line, you're going to get a mark as well for APP in such a case. Then, however, trainer may pass on bad habits leading to more errors. So sometimes that particular trainer has been in that workplace for many years, and they're the ones now to provide the training. Their bad habits may as well be passed on to you, and you may end up following their steps, and there will not be any change in what the organization has been experiencing before you joined. Then method 2 of the job training. This one here is done away from the workplace or outside the workplace. So in this case here, it's more beneficial. Why do you say that? Most up-to-date techniques are learned, and this makes RW to become more competitive than other paint manufacturers. There is your APP. Then, however, it may make it easier for employee to find alternative employment, meaning to say employees will leave, and this increase costs to recruit and train other employees. So remember, you are supposed to give a good discussion, positives and negatives on each and every method you are going to talk about in such part or in such equation. And then you are going to make a choice as well afterwards as to which method you are in support of. If you are in support of on-the-job training, you are supposed to go on and talk about it first. On-the-job training may be better to choose, as it will allow workers to keep at the same time as being trained, and therefore still producing some output of paint, and this will save RW costs of training, as it uses existing paint production workers to carry out the training. So this is a rich point. It includes the positive point as well as the application. However, with the off-the-job training, RW may not be able to afford to send all 100 workers on training courses, which may not be specific to the needs of RW and likely to be expensive. And by saying all this, you will get your 12 marks. So I always tell my students that all commercial subjects, business studies, accounting, as well as economics, it's not about writing a lot of points, but it's about writing what will make you get marks. It's not about quantity, but quality of your answers. And by doing that, you are going to get an A star. So try by all means to be very much clear when it comes to your facts, your analysis, your application, evaluation, and also when it comes to the recommendation part, don't forget to provide the reasons why you are rejecting the other option, the other method, the other change. Show that reason, then you get all the marks for the recommendation or the conclusion. So thank you for listening, and I hope you're going to gain something from this video. And remember, if there are any questions or maybe any points you feel like adding on, remember to add them on to this part. Thank you very much for listening.